welcome to New Tallinners. My name is Kezza.
And I'm Kezza, and today we have a really interesting topic and a really interesting guest, and it's good enough to not delay this any further, so we're just gonna go into it.
Yes. Today we have with us an Estonian health expert, psychologist and trainer. He is also internationally recognized communication coach, and whatever I will say what his accomplishments aren't enough words anyway. So let himself speak for himself, and I welcome you, Erik Rüütel. Hello. Hello,
Hey.
hello.
Hello, hi. Nice to be with you here. Thank you for having me.
Amazing.
Yes. I love how none of our main language is Estonian. So I will try to pair with me because the topics are going to be very serious.
It's going to be interesting. Speaking in English all the time, right?
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Sure.
How are you feeling today?
Feeling good. I mean, it's Mondays, so
Fair enough.
you know, like,
Yeah. I didn't think this through.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, my medium son. I call him medium son because he's 14. My older son is 16. He what he does lately is he doesn't want to go to school that much, and he sometimes
Surprising.
on Mondays he not on Mondays but sometimes when he he feels or whatever the reason is, he just wakes up in the morning and says, I have a sore throat or something, and I cannot really go. So what I usually do now is just test yourself. If it's COVID, then you're gonna be home. If not, go to school.
COVID has taken totally out children's excuses.
You can't fake anything.
Yeah, and it's really bad. I mean, I have to figure out like what's the issue is, but it's like you don't intervene unless the crisis is really like a problem that he cannot overcome himself. So
So
this is my
your
philosophy.
mornings are filled with how many children do you have?
3 boys.
3 boys.
Yeah, 16, 14, and 5.
And how is that?
That's
Because I know you do a lot of things.
I would say
and-
that's enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
In the sense that actually we were going for the third one to be a girl, but mission failed.
So how old
No,
were
like-
you? Or do you, Mikk, want to say something?
No, I was gonna say, so you have to make a fourth one. That's a girl then.
No.
No.
It's
Not anytime soon.
3 boys. It's quite up there.
Fair enough.
So how old were you when you had your first son?
26.
26. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So by that time you'd already finished your schools.
Luckily, yes. Yes.
But before that, like before you became a psychologist and went into Tallinn University, what's the story there? Like, why did you choose what you wanted to study? And just a little bit of backstory of yourself.
Well, I mean, there's an interesting story of becoming there, I think, somewhere, in the sense that was I who was I meant to be, or who do I want to be? As a psychologist, as a team building trainer, as like a lecturer at the university, I always differentiate these two things. When we're talking about if somebody wants to become something and somebody is let's say meant to become. I mean, I'm not a fatalist in that sense that I feel there is a specific fate, but I think that people are born with a specific set of skills, like Liam Neeson. He has a specific set of skills. So people are I think they're born with a set of skills, and it is their kind of a life that unravels those skills in practical settings. And if you're really lucky, you actually combine the two things, which is you will do what you want to do, and it is with your skills. Because I think that in today's world we see a lot of these kind of like a split phenomena where somebody wants to be somebody but actually has the skill set to be somebody else or to do something else. Of course, you can, there's so much you can train and develop, but we are talking about some, personality skills, some, these basic kind of fundamental categories that you already have inside you that you, people usually say you are good at this. When people are saying you are good at this, they don't actually mean the same things that you want to do. So this is where I see the
This is what they
differentiation.
perceive basically from the outside from yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
when did you actually realize that what you want to be is what you can be? So that you have the specific skill set.
I think it's a good question. I mean, yeah, I will go back to the root of the story, like where is it all coming from? But I think that it's like an inner compromise path. And eventually it will lead into a consensus kind of like situation. But I think that for me, everything started off from being a young boy, like my younger one right now. What I see a lot of myself in inside him. I mean, as you know, like imagine with kids, exactly. Like, but specifically like these kind of like. He likes to dance a lot, and he's really like outgoing and really extroverted, and he's a very like a happy kid, and he likes, of course, attention, but the attention isn't really the core substance of what he's seeking. It is kind of like self-expression mostly through these kind of activities. So this is what I recognize in him as well. And when I was a young kid, probably I had a lot of this energy that I was, like, it was inside me, and I just, was letting it out.
Did you feel like you had enough like opportunities in school or inside the environment you were in to express these emotions?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different sides of the story that emerge when you ask these questions. Like, I mean, I went to a city school in Tallinn city. So it was like a big public school in a sense that we had a lot of people, but basically we had like 30 people in the class all the time. So it's really easy to get lost in that crowd, like become like a gray mouse, so to speak.
It's totally different from, me and Mikk are from the same, we went to middle school together. And we had 12 people in our class.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so
we had really personal.
This is a
education.
big benefit, and I really think that when you're like a younger person, it's okay. It's even, I mean, it is so good if you coming from this kind of like a smaller group of students together, somewhere like a small town or something.
Yeah,
you have
feels
more
like a pack.
Exactly, you have a more intimate way of actually becoming something who you were supposed to be.
I mean, your teacher is more like your second mother.
Exactly. No room for mistakes.
So, I mean...
That too.
Exactly,
That's another topic.
Or at least there's nothing you can get away with.
Yeah.
You'll always be reprimanded.
True. So I think in that sense, the environment wasn't really like, there to support personal growth. But I remember that I think that, my mother was really... energetic and like putting me into different like these hobby classes after school. So I was going to drawing and sculpture, and then one day I even went to a dancing practice. and anyway,
what kind of dance?
It was a group called Sõleke, which is like a folk dance.
Ah, dude, we had that as. It was kind of necessary for us to do that. We didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Because from I think it was 6th grade or maybe before that till the end of 9th grade, we were told. Well, at least I was told that okay, you have to dance. There's not a lot of us, so you got to dance. Folk dancing, that's a thing.
It's a culture thing.
Exactly. So this is the maybe the con side of small schools, because there's not enough people to put into different groups.
Exactly.
But with us it was like you can choose whatever you want to do or whatever. But yeah, it ended like in one day, because the first training that I went to dance with the people there, my classmates were behind the window and they were like, what the hell? Erik
like
is
laughing,
dancing.
pointing.
Exactly. So I had the class culture, like the 30 people that were in my class, all the way through elementary school, middle school. They were, we had this kind of like an old kind of a ruling saying that if you're like doing bad things, that is cool. And if you're not very, your grades are not very good, that is also cool. So for me, it was really hard because I need to be in the middle of everything, because I didn't want to be uncool, but at the same time, my parents demanded good grades. Yeah. So it was hard. Fair. But I think that I had a benefit that I was actually a pretty big, like physically boy, like size, like I was like high, tall.
So nobody messed with you?
Most of my life. And I mean, I got some problems, but not much because of my height, probably. That was like my benefit.
Did they do any sports as well?
Yes, at that age of, I think it was like 9 or something, 8, 9, I went to started playing basketball. And actually I was playing basketball with Jüri Ratas, our former prime minister. Yeah, he was in my group. But I left earlier. I had this kind of like a inner kind of a thing, like I don't know, like maybe like finding myself at the young age of 10. I suddenly realized that I had a really strong like impulse for music. So that was like from my own initiative. I went and grabbed from the local school's library. That's the only time I went to a library myself, actually. I went and grabbed myself a book on how to play the guitar. So I grabbed the book, I lended the guitar from my friend, and I started playing the guitar. So I quit basketball when I was 13 to form a band. And
that's quite early, like that's an advantage. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't quit high school, but I quit basketball.
Oh, fair enough.
Going to remember I did, we are both being on psychology as well, so the backstory is kind of similar. I went into sports for 10 years and I felt that I didn't get to express these kind of artistic features in me, like doing music and letting all these emotions out. But at the same time, I always watched those kind of people and just like, never like pointed fingers. But at the same time, you remember, I wanted to be cool as well. So I kind of teached that side, the dancing and everything. And but I remember, did you also like started recognizing people's behaviors and all that led you into, like, what led you still into that psychology, like studying psychology?
I mean, it's interesting what you're saying, and about, you know, like doing something and then realizing that something is not the thing for you. So it is I think, I mean, it's really,
but it's always necessary on the path, right? I never regret anything.
So this is what I'm also saying, that I agree with you that probably you have to do different things to realize or you know, see or you know, like fine tune yourself. You know, it's like even with, like, as I said, like tuning a guitar, you know, how do you find the right note is actually you over tune it, or, you know, like you basically find it in the middle there somewhere. So I think all the, you know, experiences that we do are necessary, as you say. But yeah, so how actually I probably I mean, I think I've been observant of people pretty much my whole life. I mean, as a young kid, I have a lot of photos when I was, you know, just staring at somebody, you know, for a long time. And that time, nobody really actually told me, like, you know, staring is bad. So I was really staring, you know, like in public transportation with my mother, I was like staring at these weird people, like,
you know.
Why
are they doing what they're doing,
looking
right?
at their, you
Some
know,
people might say it's a weird habit, but no, it's actually a path to psychology.
could be. Some inner trait, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess that somehow contributed. But actually, during the high school, I was actually studying besides high school regular program curriculum. I was doing actually extra biology and chemistry to get into Tartu University medicine department. I actually wanted to become a doctor. So yeah, that's an interesting
What's
story.
What's the story there like? Did you do any kus on sisseastumiseksamid?
No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't do any of those.
Was it your will, or did you feel any pressure from your parents as well?
I mean, if I'm looking at my 16-year-old son right now and I'm asking him, like who do you want to become?
Yeah.
I think the first impulse is like a professional gamer, like in his head.
Sounds like fun.
But when I'm talking about different fields and topics, I mean, you know, I don't know. With some boys, maybe it's earlier. Maybe with girls, it's easier. But I don't really know. I think that it's very personal. Like when do you become somebody who really knows something? I mean, like if we ask ourselves, like, do we really know up until now? You know, like, when do you become an adult? I just actually asked my class last week this question, like, raise your hands. I mean, we're talking about like 20, 25 up to like 45 people age group. Like, who feels that you are an adult already? And I think like 2 people raised their hands. So it's like being an adult is like you're planning, responsible for your own kind of like actions and feeling that you're, you know, achieved this kind of like a human form, not a child anymore. So my son, and as I did when I was like 16, 17, I really didn't know who I wanted to become. And when my parents suggested that maybe you want to become a doctor, my first thought would be like, like doctors, they wear these interesting clothes and they, look pretty formidable behind the mask. And yeah, that would look good on me.
Yeah, that's the characteristic. Like you started to build
yeah.
up the story in your mind. Like I'm gonna be a doctor.
Like and I like the people looking at me and
I'm gonna be respected. And
exactly, they're approaching me and saying like, Dr. Rüütel, excuse me. I'm like, yes.
Title,
go on.
Respect.
Exactly. So it was like this kind of like a young dream or young misconception of all of it. I think that started it up. But eventually, when I graduated the high school, I don't know, from probably my very volatile nature in the sense that I was like doing a little bit of sports, a little bit of music, a little bit of everything. My parents suggested that maybe you should not leave town, because I was in Tallinn, not leave to a town, other town, stay here and pick something that is in the university here, which is closer to medicine.
Okay.
So what's the closest thing to medicine? Besides nursing, right? I mean,
yeah, I was going to ask why psychology? Why not? Well, you did study clinical psychology as well, but why not a psychiatrist?
That would have been medicine practice. I mean,
yeah, but that's what I mean. It's it still takes years, but it's close to psychology as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, when I went to study psychology, I'm in the beginning, and actually for the whole, I was there like 4 or 5 years, I think. It actually felt, I mean, the deeper I got into the studying, the more it felt that this is so obvious, this is so simple and easy, like everybody probably knows this. And this was actually my first like impulse and a big obstacle to overcome when I was as becoming a lecturer and lecturing like psychology and my first lecture that I actually did like a curriculum lecture was a special youth work lecture. So like a course on that they asked me to do, because I worked in that area already, like with problematic kids. And I was thinking like, oh my God, this is so simple and this is so obvious. I mean, I was looking at the whole, the group of people listening, and I was like, I was seeing in their faces this like, come on, you're telling us things that we already know. But eventually I understood that actually it was my own reflection that I saw, but actually they didn't.
Because in reality, I think many times people who have observed and have this, like I call it the big picture, or how you perceive humans and things, we need to go back to the basics, or kind of this simplicity in explaining those things, as many people don't know, they don't observe, and they are like on the inside always.
Even if you understand like a bigger picture, it can be really simplistic things that you can get wrong. You might think that you know everything about it, but you're missing a small piece in the corner.
And actually, I agree with you completely, and I think that actually that's one of the, I wouldn't say downfalls of modern society, but I see like the perils actually on it, because missing some these fundamental, the basic constructs of what things are built on will make you question the roundness of the planet and some other things that are also entwined with the basics. So it's like I agree with you completely. The concrete things in the fundamental parts are very important. Yeah.
But now you've achieved a lot of things. You've done a lot of different things in psychology, related to psychology. Is there like a mission or something that you still hold close to your heart that you want to achieve? Like maybe a goal that's not, that you can't reach in a day or in a year, but something that you want to strive towards?
Yes, there was. I mean, this is the part, like, how do you live your life, or how do you plan your life? Like the question. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Mikk got like right into it. I saw it came so sincerely inside of you right now, and then just
that's
rolling
fine. And
with
I think it's a legitimate question, and yeah, the thing is that
it's basically a question of why do you get up in the morning, right?
Yeah, I believe in an approach to life where you actually. I mean, everybody, I think, plans their, days or hours or weeks in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's post-its, maybe it's like a notebook, maybe it's a calendar, maybe it's something online, maybe it's paper. But I believe that like even in like organization strategy building, that you actually have to have very long-term goals as well. And that I think that there's like this my own kind of like insight of finding out. I mean, I'm 44 right now, so like over the last 20 years, I think that the first 20 years when I was like becoming a human,
Fair.
hello humans, I was becoming a human, and sometimes I think that in like in the middle age we actually forget that the first 20 years are not like like wasted or lost. It's just becoming stage. So it actually starts somewhere in the 20s or the 30s, the real life. So what I realized about like planning is that you should plan these like almost abstract thoughts into the 60s and 70s or even the 80s when you're older. Like, what do you want to see? And the closer you come in timeline to where you are, the more focused and more plans you can have. But so what you're essentially is doing is you're not approaching the life in like 360 degrees, which you actually start off when you're born.
Yeah.
But the older you get, the more the scope is narrowing down. Actually, it's the same thing, the same logic in education. Actually, I don't believe that that people like a lot of not a lot of people, but there's a group of people that are saying like education is designed to put you in a certain box. I mean, it has that effect, but it actually has the same logic that it gives you the direction of where ourselves as humans in development, according to the last 10,000 years, have thought that this is the most productive direction.
I think it's also if I can sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's also like how students perceive. If you have that expectation that school will give me everything, then you are in a box, right? But I remember like I was a kind of rebellious kid. I didn't like the rules much, all the backstory there. But at the same time, I feel I learned so much. I learned to negotiate. I learned to do, other things rather than what was just offered. So I don't think school puts us in a box rather than what we take out of it.
The school gives you tools.
Yeah.
And what you do with the tools is up to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like this interesting moment from I think it was like in the 8th grade or something. I really sometimes tell it in my lectures as well that. I mean, in my class we had this group of guys, or like 3 or 4 guys who were really like dominant in the sense that like learning is for pussies and shit like that, and
the usual.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's still there, but
it is,
sadly. And this guy, I mean, he in the 8th grade he already had like a full set of a beard. I still can't grow a beard, but he already had it, and I don't think maybe that, but somehow he felt that he could oppose the teacher, and I think it was like mathematics or something. I don't remember what we were going through, but he like asked in the middle of the class the teacher, saying like, "Hey teacher, listen, what do we have to study this bullshit mathematics? I'm never gonna use it in the store while I'm shopping, like." And the teacher got really mad. You're on contradicted teacher. Get out of the class if you don't like it, and so. And of course, he was, put out of the class. And I remember thinking to myself that, but the question is really, really a good question. Like, why are we studying? I mean, as an 8th grader, like, why are we studying this stuff? I mean, I'm studying it because of my parents, because I don't want to get, like the evil eye from them or something. So anyway, but I think that I actually answered the question, the teacher should have answered years later. Maybe in my 30s, I think I come to the conclusion that what the teacher should have done, and many teachers should do. I think they do more, but at least then they didn't. Was to answer actually that boy and say that, what? And his name was Olari. Olari, you know what? It's a very good question. The problem with it is that we're teaching you, as you said, these tools, because you're not gonna live your whole life in the store.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that you actually don't know where your life is going to take you. And if you have a full set of tools, life presents you with problems, and wow, you have got the tool. You have never used this, but now you have the problem and you can solve it with the tool. But what the young kids are saying is that, we don't need it. I mean, they have this kind of like understanding that, like the life is already here. I understand everything. But actually, there's more to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's another big topic that we could go into on the psychology part there on the teacher side. And
my high school teacher actually answered that question correctly. She said that it's not about where you use it or how you use it. It's just to train your mind. So you could take in more information and you would learn to think about problems and solve them on your own. Because she was more of a person who was like, when you ask the question, she would tell you it's a stupid question and that's why, and now figure it out.
Nice. I mean, I'm happy that, and I think that really our pedagogical, teaching has become better in the sense that we have more eager, more motivated teachers than maybe in the 80s or 90s where I was coming from. So yeah.
Do we want to go on to the thing that we actually wanted to talk about?
I'm sorry, maybe I haven't answered some of the questions because
it's been really
some
interesting.
of the questions are going off path.
I feel with the Eriksen said, I mean, I have gone into this psychology on the kids side at school. I could go into why teachers react, right? Like how that psychology has changed over time. Why teachers are like this more because we have more critical thinking or less reacting in the teachers, young teachers that are coming on board. That's what I have preserved. But today the topic we wanted to touch is still the crisis psychology and go into that. Since with everything going on in our country as well, and not even on a sad note or anything, but just kind of look at it and just see what your personal thoughts are on it with everything you have experienced on so many fields. That how do you look at it, or what kind of perspective do you have? And since I am so unprepared, love it. Then Mikk here has prepared some questions, but naturally going into it, what is going on right now? Where are we with this crisis right now? Okay, Corona is ending and starting 500 times now. Then World War III, right? People, there is so much. First when we got into the pandemic, right? What happened in people's minds? They got stuck home. That. Now we have Ukraine and Russia. Where do we even begin? As a young person receiving so much information and of course making my own assumptions, but rather keeping my mind open because everything is a warfare, right? Information warfare. Then where do we even begin?
So when you're
let's not ask too many questions.
Exactly.
The guest. I mean, let me start off from somewhere. If you
Yes.
I was gonna try and narrow it down a bit more.
Thank you.
But I got it. I mean, I think that let's start from the crisis psychology came into my life. Maybe it was there for a dormant for a long time. But it came to my life in 2014 around that. I think when I was asked while working as a lecturer at the Estonian Academy of Security Sciences, Sisekaitse Akadeemia, I was asked to prepare a training course for air traffic controllers, who have to be really focused in specific times when they're looking at the screen, all the dots with people flying around and not to connect the dots, of course. So, and how to, keep their, whatever their daily problem thoughts are, because they also have crises, whatever, personal things, how to separate them. So this is how I, started diving into the cognitive control of crisis and actually regulating your own emotions and crisis psychology at that point. And of course, in time it developed, and of course, with COVID, everything kind of changed in a way that with COVID, psychologists and psychiatrists and I mean the whole planet sees that actually the what's happening inside people is not very much the same. I mean, it's really hard to like say like this is like a conversive disorder, like somatoform disorder type, that you have like this body ache somewhere. I mean, what I'm trying to say is there are these kind of like new stress or outputs that we are getting, and it can, I mean, probably a lot of psychiatrists are still diagnosing the same PTSD or anxiety disorders, but it's not the same anymore. It has this kind of like a different flavor to it, and we can get onto this a little bit later if you want to, like what's really going on and what are the the outtakes of like people having these anxiety episodes, these panic attacks or whatever their the symptoms are. But the third notion is, of course, the last big crisis that hit, and maybe it ended the Corona crisis, maybe it didn't. The Ukraine situation, the war in Ukraine, and my father actually pointed it out to me. Like people are saying that like World War III, but he said that, Erik, you don't remember this or you don't know this, but actually Winston Churchill said after the end of Second World War that although it is peace now, one of the big aggressors hasn't ended their rule, saying that the Second World War is not over yet. So he's actually, my father said that this is the end of the Second World War.
I guess if you would put it into long-term history, so people 200 years from now, they could, see it from the big picture that actually that was the end. Could
be. Because of the ideology. The ideology hasn't changed, actually. We see it. It is exactly the same. We see the notes of Stalinism again. Complete notes of that. So, I mean, it's always an interesting time, but it's a really sad time because I have friends in Ukraine and I've been in touch with them, and I mean, it is really hard. It is really hard for our friends there. Yeah.
Like if we talk about the crisis, there's obviously short-term crisis. There's long-term problems, short-term problems. In a war, there's there isn't a day where there's no more short-term problems. Now we can move on to long-term problems. You have to battle those together. What would you say are like key notes or key things that you need to control? If you have so many problems, like you said yourself, Corona crisis kind of ended, but the illness is still there. Yeah. Do you just push it on the background because you have a lot more dangerous things on your doorstep?
Well, from a successful trauma therapy approach and crisis psychology approach, I think the most important thing is to understand. And as I'm working with a lot of people from Estonian Foreign Ministry, people from Ukraine, and Red Cross. We're actually doing some volunteer work to help Red Cross members who are working there and helping people who need to be helped. We are seeing that the most important thing is to understand that during this time, and if this crisis, whatever the crisis is that touches you, you cannot really lead your normal life the same way. You have to adjust your normal life cognitively, like rationally. You have to understand that this is a adjustment that I need to do. It's the same analogy that, if you do some sport and you break some bone, then you cannot run further. You have to stop, and now you have to make this bone heal. So it's the same thing with psychological approach of what to do now. So basically, if it's wartime for people in Ukraine, your life has changed. This is it. You cannot think about normal stuff anymore. You have to adjust to it for a certain period of time. And the biggest problem is that you don't know how long it is. But you can, of course, in your mind, you can actually put some benchmarks there, maybe saying like 1 year, year and a half or something, that and in your mind and it helps you to accept it in a way that will calm you down. Of course, you won't be calm in the sense that if you compare it with regular times, but you will be calm in the sense that wartime calm as somebody can be.
You need some kind of order to feel in normality.
Yeah, exactly. So it is like this, like stronger cognitive control that you have to have, and with regular people, and this is where psychologists come in. With regular people, it's really hard to do, and because of the emotions and all the visual, the stimuli that you have, and all the thoughts and the stories that actually build up the stress and the trauma, you actually need outside support to put things into places, to organize stuff for you in your mind, so that you can actually breathe more normally.
What are the main things you would point out right now that Estonia has done since you're in close contact with the programs helping Ukraine?
You mean Estonia in general has done for Ukraine?
Yeah, exactly. Right now,
there's so much. I think that Estonia is doing a lot in many aspects. I mean, we're talking about private sector. We're talking about all public sector. I mean, all ministries. The biggest focus is, Ukraine right now. I mean, exactly what I'm saying is like all regular topics are pushed aside. I'm seeing it from inside as well. My wife is actually working for the Estonian finance ministry, and I can see that the topics are 80% Ukrainian topics. So I mean, we are doing a lot, and I mean, there's so much you can actually do from where we are. But I think we're doing a lot. I mean, as far as even volunteers going to Ukraine to help or whatever.
I read from somewhere, so not sure if a credible source, but compared to all the countries that have helped Ukraine from money-wise, like military budget or stuff they've given amount of dollars, we were like number third for a country that's minuscule basically in comparison to, and if you look at our population, then we've taken around like 2% of our population as refugees as well, which is obviously in raw numbers it's not much, but if you compare it to what we already have, it's giving a lot.
And I'm being a crisis psychologist, I approach this topic in a multi-layered way. So as I said, my own company, my own psychological consultation company is actually helping, and we're doing volunteer work to help not Ukrainians, but the Red Cross workers. All the Red Cross, not only workers, but all the volunteers there, they have free psychological support
for all
from
the
us.
foreigners that are watching the show, can you introduce the Red Cross organization?
I think that's kind of worldwide.
Yes, sorry, cut that out.
I just say that, of course, as you know, that the Red Cross is a huge worldwide organization. I mean, it can be put into the NGO category, but it's actually not that. It's a volunteer-based organization where people actually are helping each other in this kind of like this mandate that people are entitled and they need to get help if the help is needed. So this is what they're basically doing all over the world, and they are one of the biggest organizations right now in Estonia as well that are actually funneling different other organizations and even like companies in help towards Ukraine. They are just gathering it up and organizing it. So Estonian Red Cross is doing also a very good job there, and But I was saying that my approach is multi-layered in a sense that, as you said, that there are a lot of refugees coming in, and before that as well we had refugees coming in, and of course in Estonia we have like in all European Union all across the world. I mean, we are in a state of like you said in the beginning, like miscommunication or information war, where it's really hard to understand what is the truth, right? I mean, and as I said, it relies on the basic fundamental facts of learning, and this is why we need good teachers, right? In schools. Yep. So the polarity of the world is actually, facilitating this debate, like how many people can we have, and are we neglecting our own people? And there's been topics that we're neglecting our own Russian-speaking people on the eastern side of Estonia. And actually, I was last week and this week I'm going to go also to Narva-Jõesuu. It's on the border of. I'm training. Estonian energy company Enefit Power employees there. 60 Russian-speaking males, and there's a lot of emotions and a lot of confusion there as well in that sense, because a lot of that side is actually living in the information sphere of the Russia still. And I think that, I mean, Estonia has been doing for the last 20 years a lot of good work, and we are very progressive if we compare us to other European countries. But there are also things that are lacking, and I think our integration has not been as successful maybe as we wanted it to be 20 years ago, like integrating, like different nationalities
it
to
hasn't
become Estonians.
really been in the news. Like, it hasn't been in if I look at the past few years, like what's been most covered, there isn't really topics about how we could integrate Russian Estonians more. And I wanted to ask as well, especially on that front, that there's been a lot of posts on social media with younger Russian Estonians who are supporting, are against the war in Ukraine. But I know from a few Russian friends of mine that it's a really polarizing topic. Actually,
it is. Yeah. So what I was trying to say, and still on it, is that we cannot neglect our own people, and our own people, I mean people living in Estonia. It's not only Estonians, it's people living in Estonia. It's like our president every New Year's greeting, they say that people of Estonia. So it is Estonia has always been this kind of like a mixed race country, and a lot of my foreign friends also said that Estonia is a very good place to be because we don't actually have the grounds for racism, and Estonia is not a racist country, although we also have like some small cluster of politicians even supporting that kind of like thought patterns, which I think is just outrageous, of course. But this is the world today, so everybody has a like a free speech moment,
In a case of crisis, obviously, more far right or left politicians rise because people are desperate.
Exactly. So I mean, one polarity actually gives birth to the other one more as well. So I think that radical leftism could be one of the problems why the radical rightism is up there as well. So we need to take care of our own people as well, and this is the hard topic for all organizations, either public sector or private sector in Estonia, all over the world, I guess. So we need to focus on that, and I think that psychological support and for the people and the integration part is a necessity, and a growing necessity in next years, because we have a big new group now coming to live with us. So it is a growing problem, and I wouldn't say it is a problem until we solve it, or at least we are on the path to solving it.
Well, talking about long-term and short-term crisis management, and this is what we're right now doing is short-term, right? Like people are going in, people are in the emotion of helping. Like even our regular people, and I'm just bringing on the kind of simple questions in the here because I went to visit my father, and she was like, "Yeah, people are in this helping stage right now, but what happens when the big emotion is over? Like then the integration begins, really,
exactly,
and then reality hits and everything. What do you think is gonna happen in the people's inimestel nagu sisemiselt, et kuidas nad nagu sellest, how do they after this emotion welcome everything, integrate those Ukrainians into the society?
I agree with you that people usually get tired of something new, even if it's bad. People, get tired of the war, even in media, it's like the news also is in some ways is a business, and people want to see the news, and at one point the same topic just get tiring, the same images and so on, and it can be a problem. But I think that
it's also that we're unfortunately selfish people, right? From the inside, we don't tell ourselves that, but
selfishness is a part of us. I mean,
exactly.
It's human nature.
You want yourself to survive.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
We cannot take it away from ourselves. I mean, we are selfies, and this is actually what drives us further as well. That's why we have this, good microphones, to good technologies, because of somebody's selfishness. So it's not bad. But I mean, as far as like predicting, I really don't want to predict in that sense. But, I mean, I hope that in Estonian public sector, because this is what will catch most of the biggest kind of like aftermath, like what to do with people and how to do it. I mean, a lot of politicians will, of course, try to get the limelight if there's successes, and they will blame the specialists if there's some problems. Yeah. So I'm a little bit sad about that. I mean, I think that we are in time or in need of leaders who do both. They would take the bullets, and also they will take the wins, and maybe actually the other way as well. Like, they will take the bullets, but if there's a win, show the specialists who actually did it on the field. So I'm expecting that. So, and I hope that in our public sector we have more young, energetic, motivated specialists to work and to think and not to compete among each other, because the interesting thing about the helpers, you wouldn't believe. I mean, I've been in contact with many organizations like Estonian social security organizations, Sotsiaalkindlustusamet, and other organizations, and within the group of helpers, you would imagine there's some kind of like uniformity. These people are also quarreling about who's helping and what's your qualification and so on. So it is so sad to see these like aspects of human nature still like surfacing. Where actually they could be uniformed and focused on actually helping. But I guess, again, this is the sad part of human nature. So I hope that there's more energetic people and there will be less quarreling among
more cooperation.
More cooperation, understanding. We're doing the same thing. Although you are doing it from a different aspect, although you have different background, although you have different teachings. I don't like you, maybe. Yeah. But it's fine. I respect you because you're doing the same thing. I want to see that more.
Yeah, we can work together. I don't need to like you to work together.
Exactly. We don't have to. And I mean, in myself, I've actually explored it for the last, I think, 15 years of actually working with people. So it's another topic. It's like how to build a perfect team. I've had actually a leader that I worked with. I'm a small jump to the side.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
A leader who said, "We will hire only people who fit into our team." So something like that, and she was really proud of that statement. I was like, maybe it's not that good of idea, because we really will lack the competence of doing something. What we really need in our team is competences that we need to solve some kind of a problem. The interpersonal skills is something that we can actually adapt to or learn. And in today's world, I really recognize like a high maturity leader or like a manager when the manager is actually liking to work with some extroverted people, even some schizoid people, in the sense that there's a difference between schizoid and schizophrenic, of course. Schizoid people are people who really like to focus. I'm talking about the personality side, who like to focus on details, and they don't like human contact that much. And sometimes people get offended by it, but actually that's where the maturity comes in. Don't get offended.
It's not about you.
Exactly. Yeah. The person is giving you so much, quality work that you want to have these people on your team. So this is another quality for the leader. So I'm hoping that our public sector leaders and people, even in private sector, they're more open to this kind of like diversity of your team members, because these are the team members who will provide you with the most content and results.
It goes into good content we talked about in the beginning, that not taking things personally, and also having your why and mission while you're doing things, and then collaborating along the way. Yeah.
And I think the bottom line is actually your own personal understanding, like, of who you are and where you are. Because if that is shaky, you will be shaken by everything.
Every relationship you have, everything.
Exactly. So.
And life is formed by relationships with other people.
Yeah, we are a social animal.
Exactly.
True.
But with you said you took a small step. It's actually when I first looked into you, there were so many topics and ideas that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. And when I first talked with Karina, she was like, okay, we need to focus on something.
Because I have a proposal for you. This comes out now naturally because we see you. There are so many topics we can go into. Is that we can even do this like regularly and just like dive deep into some topics. Sure. Yeah. If you're okay with that.
Sure.
You're welcome.
And the thought on this, I mean, as you in the beginning asked me as well, like, I mean, I've been looking for myself and searching for this kind of like who you are, and there's this kind of like expectation from people, like, and when I was in the Estonian prison system working, I was a deputy director of Tallinn prison at one point for 3.5 years, and there was this rhetoric saying that, you know, in Estonia it's pronounced elukutse. It's basically your
life sentence.
It's like but actually it means your work position. But in Estonia it means like your life calling or something, like meaning that you have to do the same thing all your life. And I think actually that it is okay for a lot of people and for anybody who wants to do one thing for the rest of your life. But in today's world, and we know that, you know, today's world is progressing with like huge steps. Every step is bigger than the other one, you know, where all the technology, everything is progressing so fast, and the human being is changing. And I think already there have been theories that, you know, Homo sapiens is no longer Homo sapiens. We are actually Homo planetaris or something. Like we're actually, you know, we're already integrated with some technology, or, you know, we're already in a different state of existence. So from that point of view, I think in different life periods, doing different things, and the same goes for relationships as well. Maybe in the future we will have, you know, different stages in our lives where we have different companions for that stage. Yeah. I mean, believe me, I am the old romantic. I would like to be, you know, like grow old together.
You met in high school and you're together forever.
Oh my God, I would be in tears and happy about that idea. But the life itself is giving us another story, another kind of like a way to adapt, another opportunity.
Some people just send you on your way until to some point.
And then it just.
It's the letting go we don't know how to do, right?
And then there's this border that you didn't see that there will be, and you have to step over it, whether together or whether not, you know. The same things with interests in your life, I think. I mean, one of the biggest interests in my life has been actually cinema. I haven't really done much of it, but actually that has been, I've been, you know, prolonging to make movies in my life for, I would say, 25 years.
With in-depth knowledge of human psyche and how humans should act or react and all that, I think you could be really good in that, because, you know, you would make a convincing story.
But that's where the, you know, my own kind of issue comes in, because the logic for me is that maybe something that I want to do isn't something that I'm really good at. So it needs to be tested out.
Well, you won't be good unless you try.
Exactly. I need to test it at one point, someday.
But you've obviously been around the world. You've talked with multiple organizations and all that. And coming back to the crisis topic, obviously there's like basics in every crisis. You know, people start to hoard food. They're gonna look at fuel, maybe a generator. But looking at recent history, like with smartphones and IT and all that, how has it changed, like how we react as a people to a crisis? Like obviously we hoard food as we did before, but with social media, is there like anything online that we start to, you know, like change the top or your profile picture with the Ukrainian flag and all that stuff to, you know, show unity?
Yeah, well, good question. I'd like to know about that as well. I mean, and as far as social media is concerning, I think that I'm not really an expert on that topic. What I really do understand is how like actually unexpected is the reaction to any crisis. And as we've known, I mean, of course we can put the, you know, the war here and the COVID crisis and the multiple personal crises that we have been through in our lives or will be through in our lives. And as I usually say, that different crises affects different people differently, and you really don't know how you will react in a certain point of time. You can be trained a little bit to react in a way that is more controlled. What we're actually discussing at the Estonian Academy of Security Sciences right now is to help teach, like first responder, rescue workers, even like prison personnel, police in the future, and probably customs office workers as well, to be more vigilant and controlling in the way, like if crisis hits, how they react, because we want them to be very like on the spot and self-regulatory. But it is so unexpected. So I think that what we're seeing, this is my like just like a thought out there, that like random like outbursts, like some people are trying to organize stuff, and through social media like trying to put some order down, like this is the way we should think, or these are my emotions and so on. But usually it's all about like we just want to express ourselves, and we want to be understood.
I guess these days, before, when you had radio hosts, TV hosts, and politicians, they could really find a way to explain a crisis, make a view of it, or how we explain things. There's obviously propaganda and all that, but I guess the social media, there's a lot of influencers, a lot of people with a lot of power who could quite easily change the view of a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean great oratory skills or rhetoric skills are necessary in times of crisis.
And always to keep a critical mind, because that same influencer posting something to his 50 million viewers is consuming still the same social media and everything.
And I think that actually that's to have a critical mind. I had this thought a couple of days ago, and I don't know where I was driving, but in my first year of university, we had a lecture from a professor in Estonia, psychology professor, Voldemar Kolga. He has passed away, but he was a great professor in the sense that he was a very like a liberating spirit, and he didn't really like hold into one paradigm of thinking. And he had this lecture, it was called Critical Thinking. I was thinking that we actually should have this kind of like lecture on like the 9th grade or the 10th grade level today. And what he was opening was actually one of the bases, like where humans make mistakes. I think he was talking about the craters or Uranus or Venus, some planet that this very like straight line, these kind of like ice cracks, and they look like they have been man-made, and he explained, I mean, through that example, but so many other examples that humans are this is our like we tend to see patterns. Our brain is built to see patterns everywhere, and if we see a pattern, we get excited about it. And this is where actually all conspiracy theories thrive, seeing patterns. Right? I mean,
you walk in a forest and you see 3-4 trees in a row, and you're like, they must have been planted.
And no, it's a sign.
It's
a sign to me personally that now I have to do it like that, like.
But it goes more into like for me giving away responsibility of actually making a decision based on what you know.
So interestingly, actually, this is where psychology and clinical psychology actually come together really closely, because this is where you're borderline coming into delusional thinking because of you seeing patterns and a little bit of like. I mean, if you're already seeing stuff that are not there, I mean, this is a delusion. It will grow into maybe like a bigger hallucination or something even. So we're talking about psychosis side, but also we're talking about OCD types, because you want to see patterns. It's like like you are like waiting for something to happen to get a pattern and say this happened because of this. Oh, now I know what to do. So it's type of like a obsessive, compulsive thinking as well.
Mistrust in ourselves, I would say.
It's the many layers, and I think that we have these sub layers. Some people have more, some people less, to be a little bit neurotic in this type of thinking.
So a lot of people they doubt a lot, but I find it interesting how they like find conspiracy theories. There's obviously for them there's proof, but if I look at it, it's not really scientific or proven enough for me. But if you doubt everything, but you choose to believe that.
Yeah, I know, because you pick out what you want to believe.
Yeah.
That's and in today's world, this is where I think that actually the leftism in the world has made a pothole or had stuck a pothole, is that like you said, like I want to believe, and now we have in the world I have a right to believe.
Yeah.
So it is put together, but I think that we have to separate them. In the sense that you want to believe, like I was when I was a younger guy, we had this I don't know if you know that there was this TV series X-Files.
Yeah.
And Mulder had a poster on his wall, I want to believe. So it was like an alien ship or something. So I mean, there's this I want to believe versus I believe. And today's world is basically giving you this abstract right to think that whatever I want to believe is okay.
Well, you can believe whatever you want. It doesn't mean that it's correct.
Exactly, and what is correct, right? I mean, this is where the debate comes in.
Yeah.
Like even the relativity theory, Einstein's relativity theory says that if you look at the same object from different places, it's a different object and it has different like values and it can be described differently. So who is said that that they are wrong or right? It is a philosophical debate, yes.
When before we were talking about you obviously being around the world. I noticed you've been in what was it? It was Afghanistan and Tajikistan.
Tajikistan, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of different people all over the world, and no one place has like everybody that's the same way. But we do have communities, we do have cultures. People from different places in the world have their like norms and all that. So I wanted to ask, obviously you've with crisis psychology, like what would you say is the difference, like as a, or is there a difference when you're teaching crisis psychology, like here or in Afghanistan? Like, are there like values that force you to find a different path to explain it, or?
I would say that there are more similarities actually than differences. And I would say that if I'm trying to as we said, like the life is like you're going into a more concretely. The further you go, like in our interview, I will be very concrete now. So I start.
We're getting closer.
Exactly.